you just going to this is a part two actually, by the way, from the previous video. Are you going to just like say yes? And when I do part twos, I jump straight to the point because I don't like doing all of this intro stuff. This is part two of the previous video. That has been maybe about 5 to 4 minutes because I wanted to give you guys that intro back then. Yes, I could add it here, but it's not no need to do all of this extra editing. Like we're just here to really record and just to speak truth. What is your soul worth? Do you not know exactly the terms and the conditions of what you do for your father? Like you not know you will be hated. People won't like you. People not gonna like you. Like it's not that people can't like you. They're just not. It's not even them. It's the spirit in them. They're not going to like you. That's just that simple. That's how that works. When we come here, we don't talk about fallacies. We talk about truth. We're gonna start with another truth, right? All right. And the first truth is what? We're going to be in chapter 15. I would normally typically tell you guys to grab your buy and bow and your biblioteca, but I have something on the way that I'm prepared to share with you guys. But when the time is going to be given and when the Holy Spirit would allow, if it be of His plan to allow me to release it to you all, yes, of course, it's going to be for free because I don't do nothing here that I'm given for free. Knowledge, wisdom, whatever the case is that I'm given for free, to make anybody pay for something that is given to me for free when everything in this world is free: water, air, fire, all of these things. It's personally our own ethics of work that might not be free, but at the same time, yes, there are things that takes things in exchange of value. But why would I want people to be in misery? So I'm gonna allow somebody to be in misery, to continue to be in misery, so that they can earn enough money to go and get some type of knowledge, hidden secret, or something that's gonna help them elevate. No, why would I do such a thing? If I was to do that, I prefer. I'm a chemist type of person, right? I can make a chemical. People like trees, people like plants. I can make a chemical that will make some of your plants grow way faster, that will keep your rodents away faster from your gardens. All of these things naturally, right? Forget chemically on a toxic level, but naturally I can do that and sell that to you guys. But why would I sell the words of truth onto you? Like that, like that's another thing that gets me kind of hinged up when I see certain things in this social platform. Not just this one, but on many platforms, social platforms. It kind of put me on a hinge because a lot of people, they go through life where they really need help, right? Everybody needs help in life, right? But why take away people's help? Sometimes that's the only help that they can have. That's the only help they do have. Where truth will probably be something that can, elevate a person. Why sell something to somebody and make their times 10 times harder? And what if it's not something that might actually help them in that specific scenario at that time because their time hasn't come yet? It might help them in the near future, but at the end of the day, you want somebody to suffer when they don't have to. And that's the thing that I'll be talking about. The things of potential that does not need to occur. So we are creating occurrences in timelines, right? In this realm, because this reality is something that has been projected of a certain narrative. Why make things harder when we don't have to? Like, I hope that makes sense because that's the purpose of the topic of today. Do you know exactly the terms and conditions that you accept when you follow Christ? And also, not only that, what is your soul worth to you? What is your integrity, your principles worth to you? Is it worth nothing? Are you worth nothing? Are you worth just a $5 million if somebody tell you, if you're already in a relationship and somebody out of the blue, right, tells you to sleep with somebody for $5 million? Some of you are gonna be like, yes, we need the $5 million. You don't have to. If Yahuwah says don't step in that fire, right? If Yahuwah said don't step in that fire, right? And then we know not to step in the fire, but the fire looks so tempting and it's so bright, and you see a whole bunch of people, surrounding that fire. You have no idea why he told you to not step, or to step by that fire. You don't know if there could be a gas leak. There could be something that could be very flammable, and one person catch on fire. And what you think gonna happen to the next person when they touch you? And I'm not talking about fire in a good way. You gonna catch on fire. You're gonna burn. You're gonna turn to ashes, right along with the person previous to you. It's like contamination. You gotta contaminate that fire. You gotta contaminate the corruption. You gotta be the person that tells, like, yes, this is truth right here. Like, I'm cool with you, but at the end of the day, right, doesn't matter what you say, this is how I'm rocking right here. And if you can't meet me in this borderline right here, then we don't have nothing else to talk about. If you don't understand truth, then there's nothing else to talk about. If you can't hold yourself to marriage, then there's nothing to talk about. If you can't perceive what is necessary, there's nothing else to talk about. This walk is not a joke, because I have personally seen things with my own eyes that I cannot explain. And there's a lot of things that I can explain, trust me. But there's some things that I even myself cannot explain, even if I have a textbook right here to talk about physics. What is it called? A deep dive, even in metaphysics. All of these anomalies that happen in this world, the things that we cannot properly process. But let's get into the word though, right? We're going to be in verse 19, and this is more so an inspiration before we get into the contradiction. Right, so we're going to start with control yourself and reject fleshly urges. And this is going to be verse 19. And the reason why we want to know this is because I give inspiration before contradiction, so we can, evaluate the common time of how we live in this world as of the now, right? And the things that are happening that we need to be aware of, that not that just Christ, kumbaya kumbaya. No, it's not just that, because there's a lot of things in this world that's happening right now that has our mind fogged up, that we are surrounded by clouds and we're not able to perceive the truth. And that's another reason why the translations of the Bai and Baal has been the way that it is, because it puts people in a certain mindset where they're only roaming around a certain type of aspect of belief. The same way when people pray, they say may, and they don't say shall. They don't say forever. They don't affirm, but they will affirm with a crystal, but they don't affirm in their prayers, meaning it already happened. I even have moments where I talk about that, but at the end of the day, our personal, intention is different, right? But when I speak about prayer, right, I'm going to say something like, all right, Yahuwah, right? I pray that you have mercy on somebody, right? But then I will pray on the confirmation of something already happening, because it already happened. When you walk in faith, it's already been something, rather than it's already been, because it always was. So when you have hope, you see the potential in something being. So when Christ talked to the fig tree that can no longer produce, he said that you will no longer bear fruit. You should, die out, right? What happened to the next day when Peter and them, they came back, right? And back in the I don't know what device or vehicle or vessel vehicle that they were on, but I know it wasn't on the sea. They were walking or something. They might have been on a horse or a carriage, who knows, right? But they came across the fig tree, the same fig tree that Christ spoke to. That fig tree started dying the next day. Because first off, it was rooted in a place that was not meant to be rooted. So he didn't say there were fig trees. There was a fig tree. That means there was one out of many fig trees. That there was one out of no fig trees in the vicinity of that area at that moment. So the fig tree was not supposed to grow there. It grew out of the concrete and it died because it could no longer keep up with the actual functions of what it's supposed to do. So let's get into the inspiration first. Verse 19. Your heart can command intrusive thoughts such as murders, idolatries, fornications, theft, false witnessing, and blasphemy. These actions are what set a man to wrought of evil. Their hearts will be dirty, but their hands are clean. I say they're still dirty. Now this is Christ giving his explanation as to why the Pharisees and the scribes wondered why they were eating without washing their hands. It was a tradition unto them, right? It was a tradition unto them. It was a tradition unto them because that's the way that they were living and thinking about stuff. It was a tradition unto them, right? A straight tradition unto them. So why is that important? I'm going to tell you why it's important. Because first, when you are of Christ, people are going to be watching you. And if you've been watching any of my previous videos, this world is exactly how, right, back then used to be. There's no change to it. Back then and now, there's no difference. Words, word plays, language, the only difference. Even the skin colors have not changed. The plans have not changed. It's just evolved. And when I say evolved, I'm not talking about naturally, because if it was natural, some things that is in this world right now, that includes the animals and the plants, they would not be sterile. There would not be a whole bunch of this misogynistic type of mindset going on around this world right now. Entitlement. There wouldn't be a whole bunch of that. There wouldn't be possession, people being possessive of things, people, themselves. There wouldn't be a whole bunch of that. There wouldn't be so much negativity. Okay, so to take in a matters worse, to make I said matter worse. I mean to make it better. My apologies. We're gonna look at another inspiration, and this is gonna be in Matthew's chapter 16, right, and verses 23 all the way down. And we're gonna read 23 all the way down. It doesn't really matter where we're gonna stop, but just know that if you're following along, you're gonna follow along, and you're gonna know what I'm talking about. And this is the translated version, not this perversion, because there's certain words that people use to give you intrusive I said intrusive, I mean to give you intrusive perverted thoughts. This is not the perverted translation, because there's some words, mind you, this is the reason why the language has been translated, right? But it still has not been translated in a way that could be understood as our common self, how we talk every single day. Words have not been translated for us to understand it, meaning the likability on how we can understand, rather than having to do research that should have already been done to translate the things that should have already been known. And they don't do this because why? It's a whole problem. It's a whole situation that people get to really understand exactly what is being said, and not just to understand so that you can use it against yourself. No, this is so that we can understand things as it happens, meaning you can put two and two together. Who is who? Why certain words are being used in a certain phrase, right? For a certain industry, company, whatever the case is. Some of these old time and terms of words are actually meanings of something. That's the reason why I tell you, if you watch this channel, right? This channel here, our channel, right? You understand what words mean. Yes, I know I make hours long videos. I don't always do it. But yes, it's very important that certain things are understood, even the hints that I give you, because I just can't give you all the hints. Therefore, your brain wouldn't been able to learn. I can illustrate you a canvas, right? On my canvas, I can illustrate you an image, right? I said I can illustrate you a canvas. My apologies. English, forgive me, right? But no, I can on my canvas, I can illustrate you an image. I can give you a narrative that you can go with, right? With the actual truth. Not necessarily a claim that I'm going to use to what emphasize on my opinion, because this is not an opinion. If you really look at all the things that you read in the actual buy and bow, for those that actually read the buy and bow, right, you will see these similarities in today's actions and how people are actually responding, knowing that this is not off the flesh but off the spirit, being what the principalities, the thrones, the dominions, and the powers of which rule what the earthly realms in the materialistic and the metaphysic world of how things are operating. There are laws to all of these things. Okay, so let's go to Matthew 16. Let's get this chapter 16, and let's get this ordered and properly delivered. All right, verse 23. Coincidence. And the topic for that one is the mindset to have when you're dealing with evil against the plan of Yahuwah. All right, let's get started. But knowing that it was the spirit of fear, Christ rebuked it and said, "Depart from me, Satan, for you favor not the things of Yahuwah, but of the flesh, wickedness, and destruction." And this is for what? When Christ was telling the disciples of the things that were to happen to him, right? Because in the way that they reflect the words, right? And they made it seem as if he was telling them somewhat of what's going to happen. But remember, how else and why else would Judas go to tell the Pharisees? You think that Judas was just there? No. After a while, Judas started getting a little bit envious. He got a little bit angered, right? He was feeling some type of way. Because first off, you can't tell somebody that you are the Messiah to come to save people, right? And then you tell them that people are going to kill you, that they're going to crucify you. You're not going to believe it. So this is also a reference as to how the story is being built before the tragic fall. So you have an uprising and a what? Downfall. Right? These things are intricate, meaning the actual full story of the holy scriptures are not descriptive. This is why we have things like the Apocrypha, right? And all of these extra stuff like the Book of Enoch. Because why? The full descriptions have been taken out just so that it can be actually narrated, right, in certain aspects of understanding what has been projected towards mankind rather than what is actually defined. That's why there's so many chapters giving you insights of their experiences when it was already one full story. They just separated in so many different ways and found different ways to rewrite it. Let's put it like this. In the by and by, right, when you look at how people wrote the story, now mind you, this majority of them were around the same era. So when it came to translation, if you translate one script, right, that says the same story on somebody else's script of an experience that they've had and they heard, right, how can there be things missing if they're the same? Unless it's to create confusion. Listen to what I'm telling you guys, because a lot of people, the pastors are not going to tell you that. They're going to say, let's go to Jeremiah, let's go to Ezekiel, let's go to all of this. Yes, it's good to read because it's a repeated thing where you're supposed to receive a reminder. But the Holy Scriptures were not a whole book. We had the commandments. So where did the by and by come from? They came from being inspired by what? The Holy Spirit, right? To write a story about the experience. So if all of the experiences, when it comes to actually being witness to the things that are good that had happened, that was supposed to be given to people, right? If it's all the same, why is there differences and things missing out? Majority of the stories are all the same. They end up the same. They start the same. They're all the same. Majority of them, when you go from from mainly in the New Testament. Why are there things missing out? Descriptions missing out. And they're all the same thing. And they're all in the same era. Wouldn't they have the full same story? Because even if the Holy Spirit guides you to write a story, right? You're not going to be egotistic if you have the Holy Spirit. You're going to want to hear somebody else's story, right? And be like, oh, Yeah, I do remember that did happen. Let me write that down too, so that we all have the same things and it makes sense as to what a story is supposed to be told. Is it a fiction or non-fiction? Something that is real or not real? Okay, let's continue though. Let's continue. And this one right here is going to say, follow the example of Christ and don't sell yourself. Right? And the reason why, and this is an inspiration too, by the way. Now, mind you, yes, the first one that I just read was supposed to be an inspiration, but it is an inspiration because why? It gives you the aspect of understanding what is what, the mindset, right? The mindset. So, the type of mindset that you need to carry. And the second one is going to give you what? The example, so that Christ, well, the example of who Christ was, so that we don't sell ourselves. And let's actually start. So he then told his disciples, when the time come, deny your fears and follow in my path. And mind you, matter of fact, before I even go there, you know why Christ told Peter that? Get behind me. And this is in the actual reference of the actual word in the by and bow, but not the translated version. Get thee behind me. Why do you think he said that to Peter? See, it's fear. That fear, right? Consumed. That fear is consuming. When you have emotion, right? Remember, emotions can tie to doors. So tide and doors come together. It open gates for these demons to come and seep in, to control, to lay some type of seed, right? To sow some type of seed that can be called doubt. These doubts can then, spread out and have root. They implant, they grab on, they attach, they latch on. And when they latch on, they start to create chaos and all of this destruction and confusion. It can be mental, it can be emotional from the heart, it can be also a spiritual thing as well. A lot of people don't know that. And these things take physical shape. They take shape. It doesn't even have to be physical, but it takes shape. Okay? But let's go to the next one that I was about to read. My apologies. Eyelashes. I'm giving you guys jewels here, so please keep up, please. Please keep up, okay? Please keep up. All right? So he then told his disciples, when the time comes, deny your fears and follow in my path. So when their time is going to come to do exactly what I did, don't be afraid. Don't be scared of death. Don't be scared of hate, because people are going to hate you. People are going to try to kill you. They're going to do everything to try to stop, even mock you. I said mock you. I mean mock you. They're going to try to make you feel like what you're doing is nothing, when the whole time what you're saying is truth. And all you got to do is tell them to silence or shut up. All right? So let's continue. It's by following my teachings that life shall be upon you and not the opposite. All right? For what shall a man gain at the cost of his precious gift that will cost his eternity? What are you going to give in exchange for your eternity? If you don't give yourself to Christ, you're going to give yourself to these devils, to these Satans, to these Lucifers. Because if you've been following my channel, you know exactly what these words mean. Those are titles, they're not names. Because if that was the case, Morning Star would have been a name as well. Correct? Do a little bit of digging in names. Break down root words, right? Root words, vowels, what these things mean in the Greek language. What are these vowels in the in Hebrew, Roman, Latin, right? Whatever you want to say, Roman, Latin, it don't really matter to me. All of those, they're gonna give you something. Break them down. Okay? If you can't break it down forward, break it down backwards. That's another one that I'm gonna tell you. Oh man. This is where we tell truth here. We don't tell no lies around here. For what is the term of exchange and value for the gift if it's not death? So what do you give that would not kill you? That what do you give of yourself that is not going to give you eternity? Are you giving yourself for something that's even a short term? Because a lot of people make deals out here. Like I would say, some rappers. I'm not gonna say names or nothing like that. It could be any artist, honestly, in this world. But it could be even an influencer. It don't matter if it's on Instagram, TikTok. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Right? It doesn't matter what it is. It can be any of them. Some of them might exchange their fate for like 5 years of a contract deal that can be very consuming to them. And they don't even keep up with all of these things that's coming left and right. But they're living their life for the first 2 years, which is considered a facade before things get a little bit harder. A little bit harder. They're forced to have to do things that there's not of their own will. You know what I mean? Like, if I was somebody, right, that was to take W's and perform on any platform or just be on a what is it called again? On Instagram lives or probably podcasts, whatever the case is, right? Shouldn't it make sense when you talk numbers? Shouldn't numbers make sense when you talk numbers rather than things just popping up out of nowhere left and right? See, I grew up in a time where numbers made sense. Nowadays, numbers don't make sense. This is exactly the time where we're talking about virtual, right? And virtual itself, even that makes sense. But then, like the way people are averaging things nowadays, those things don't make sense. Why is that? That means that somebody's controlling it. Yeah, because somebody's controlling your algorithm. Somebody's controlling the amount of views you make, the amount of views you get, the amount of this and that in the word, how many people, whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And if you don't believe that, please, if you are an influencer, I would like for you to test this thing out. Just repost my video, right? Repost my video, both of them, this one and the part one that I don't feel like editing, right? Just put a good word on there, right? And you tell me the amount of views that you're gonna make based on exactly the post that I am talking about right now. The topics of what I'm really expressing out that should be heard, right? Besides all of this person cheat that. Why do you think they're cheating? They don't have no principles. They have the foundation of being ethical when it comes to, working, making millions of dollars, or betraying their partner for a couple hundreds of millions to a couple millions to a couple thousands to a couple 10,000s, a couple hundreds of thousands. But when it comes to that integrity, when it comes to Christ, my apologies, they don't really know that. And they talk about Christ in this positive way, but then you cursing with your homegirl, your homeboy. You doing this and that and that and the third. I can't. I can't. Anytime you look at a female, for you gentlemen, right? Anytime you look at a woman, when you look at a sister out here, right? And we don't color shame out here, right? Anytime you look at a sister out here, right? You immediately, oh, sex. I'm a man, so I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I have never looked at a woman and was like, that is one beautiful woman, right? We're gonna be very honest, right? But at the end of the day, we gotta start being more innocent. Christ even told us, we gotta be like kids. We gotta be like infants because our hearts is no longer becoming pure, and everything that we're doing is sexualizing. It's just getting disgusting nowadays. It's being real disgusting. Not in a good way, like it's like, oh, that's disgusting. Oh, somebody can play the drums, the guitar, the piano, and they're really nice. They're disgusting. Like, not in that, just in the word, like just in that word alone. Why is it even that? Why is that the description of good? Just to tell you how Oh, I cannot say this enough as to what I'm saying right now. Everything that I'm giving you guys, I really hope it helps somebody. Please. Because I don't make these videos. I don't get paid from none of these stuff. I really don't. And of course, I don't care about the money. Yes, if I have the money that I can make off of these videos, right? I'm not going to use it to be selfish. But at the same time, it's like, I do this because I have to. It doesn't matter if just one person just watching this video. Maybe a couple of years later, somebody might come across this video and yeah, they see this and it helps them change their life or whatever the case is for the better. Get them a perspective of something that they couldn't understand. I evolved from what I used to know. I still didn't take these videos down because why? I want people to see that there is a difference. There's a possibility for a change. But let's continue to the last one. For I shall, and this is Christ, by the way, for I shall come with the acceptance of my Father's approval in his glory with his angels, and I will gather all the faithful unto me for their works. And this is going to be in contradiction. So we're going to be in Matthew still, chapter 16, right? And the topic is going to be more so like complain, like more. It's going to be about the Pharisees because they complain a lot, right? They complain a lot and they lack in faith. So because they're blind, they lead with their ideology. So them having my apologies, these traditions, right, that they're imposing on people. This is the trick of how they're making their business. The same way people don't even realize or remember that the chief priests are the ones that were upset at Christ because they were running a system of a business in the church, in the temples. So they were profiting. So the prophets were making profits of your own profit. Being prophets, right? False prophets. There's songs about this. People telling things that ain't true. People telling things that are not true. Just to make a little bit of cash off of you. Real quick cash off of you. They sell you things and then tell you, yes, this is how Christ, I see a good things. Doesn't that sound familiar to you? That sounds like a fortune teller to me. If it doesn't sound like a fortune teller to you, I don't know what to tell you. I like listening to some of these prophecy messages, right? But that don't mean I take those things to heart because at the end of the day, what's meant for me is going to be meant for me and it will definitely happen where I'm first off, if you don't get confirmation first before anybody tells you, 9 out of 10, you're gonna get a dream. You're gonna see signs before anybody else tells you. That's a fact. And if somebody come and tell you about it, that's 9 out of 10. They're probably an angel. And if they're not an angel, yes, you like I said, that's a message. And you got to be wary of the spirit that comes with that message. But 9 out of 10, you're gonna be revealed when you have the Holy Spirit. You're gonna be revealed certain things before anybody even says it. And even if the enemy tries, the enemy is only going to try to corrupt you. The enemy cannot stop what is already in plan. And even if they gave you that dream, don't forget that Yahuwah is the one that allowed it to happen. Meaning that dream did not just come in. If you got angels around you, if you got protection around you, right? And mind you, angels too, the word itself. But if you got protection around you, right? What makes you think that if you have a dream that an angel is not going to come to protect you? So if you get a nightmare, right, and something is happening, and you got and the demons, the demons, the devils, they have access to you. You don't think that is Yahuwah's plan? Meaning he allowed it. I don't know what his plan is. I don't need to know what his plan is because he always got my back, regardless. I'm not gonna make this video too long, but but we definitely like to make sure that we get these index of terms and descriptions filled in where the space that are blanked out are understood very clearly. That they're understood very clearly because this needs to be, given to the public, not just a certain platform. Like no, like thousands to hundreds. I believe 100% that if people don't hear this, this is going to be a very tragic thing, because we're all worrying about the wrong things in life. But let's continue though. Contradictions. Now the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and this I believe is the first verse of Matthew's, right? Now the Pharisees and the Sadducees attempted to tempt Christ for a miracle. So Christ said to them, when the sun draws near evening, you say that the sky is red and the weather is fair. So they're always moody. We got to be aware of these type of situations. Moody, toxic. They're always aiming for the worst. And he also called them what? The children of the viper. And that was not necessarily him, but I believe he did. Him and John called them the children of vipers. And who are the children of vipers? Nephilims, the fallens. And they're different type of fallens. They come in different categories. They have different titles. They have different jobs. There's a hierarchy of them. They have their own kingdom. So obviously, like Christ said, Satan cannot cast out Satan. If they do, their structure and their foundation will crumble. It will crumble. It will crumble. All right. So let's continue. But early in the next day, you'll say the weather is worse, for the temperature will drop. Well, then just look how ungrateful you are, hypocrites, where you're only concerned of your needs and wants and not looking around for obvious signs. And they were asking him for signs. So a lot of the people that go to church to try to get a prophecy, that pay good money for this and that and then the third, not knowing that they being scammed. That they are being scammed. The children of the vipers, the serpents. You're looking for lies. When he said the children of vipers, the Nephilims, is because they are very sneaky, snake-like. They are cool. They smile in your face. They wear these what? Sheep clothing, but they're really wolves. They will be your pastors, your ambassadors, your ministers, your prophets, your preachers. They will be the governors, the presidents, the vice presidents. All of these chancellors, whatever you want to call them, that's what they would be. That's exactly what they would be. All right. Let's continue. Because he even told them they will be obvious signs. And this is going to be verse 4. And this is about what? Those that wish only for a sign are those that don't believe truly, for they will offer your services for good. Meaning they're going to always try to manipulate you. And this is not an actual verse. This is just the topic of the verse. The verse says, for a wicked and idolatrous generation, they seek for my apologies, let me read that one more time. For a wicked and idolatrous generation seek for signs, and the only signs left to us is by the prophet Jonas before he left. Now as his disciples, now this is for Christ's disciples. Now as his disciples came over, he gave them a warning of the food of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Why did he say that? Because when the Sadducees are going to try to come over them, right? They're going to try to exchange goods for service, meaning information as well. Because that's all they were planning. They were only planning on Christ's fall. That's why they popped up at every event that he did, every event that he went to. Doesn't that sound familiar to a lot of you people's lives? That everything that you do, there's always a downer Debbie, a down Debbie, a downer Debbie, however you say it. Doesn't that sound familiar? A downer Debbie. A downer Debbie. You can go outside, you can go to a different state, then there's always some type of problem for some reason. So that means what? They're gonna be nice to you. They're gonna be very friendly with you. They're gonna get you food. They're gonna be your best friend. They can give you money. They're gonna be your best friend. Then the moment they come right in your presence, right, you could just tell like, nah, this don't seem right. But Christ called them the children of the vipers. Because it's not that they're snakes, it's because they act like it. That's why he told you to what? When you're around what? You can think like a snake, but don't be of them, meaning don't participate in the things that they do. Know their ways. Know how they function. Know their functions. But don't think like them. I said don't think. Don't act like them. Because why? When you act like them, you become them. And you get prosecuted as one. You get accounted as one. It's like somebody doing a crime, right? You don't want to be associated to the crime, but then you don't do the crime, but then like because you're around the person and you get that person get caught and you're next to that person, you get blamed for the crime as well. And you don't want to tell the person that you didn't do it because now in this generation it's called what? Snitching. So if you know that your friend is doing something terrible, that your friend is doing something bad, why would you first off let them do something bad? How much do you not care for your friend? Is it really your friend or is it just somebody of benefit? Or your heart is so plunged in evil that you can't even realize that you're being manipulated by demons. Yes. I feel heat right now. This is not heat resistance, but I feel heat right now. I feel on fire. Or it could be this room, honestly. It could be this room. I don't know, right? But let's continue. And the next verse is I don't know which one this is, but we're just gonna read it anyways, right? Is the topic of that is lack of understanding can be due to ideals of desires, meaning what? Not understanding the disciples wondered in their lack of understanding. Well, not understanding the disciples, my apologies, let me read that one more time. Not understanding the disciples wondered in their lack of understanding, for it was because lack of understanding was because I did not read that properly. Not understanding the disciples wondered if their lack of understanding was because they shouldn't join Christ in the feast, right? Because he was sitting down and enjoying a feast with what? The politicians, right? When they say the publicans, the politicians, anybody of the governing section, and those that were basically out there sinning. You could say prostitutes, you could say people that were out there exploiting, thieves, robbers, whatever the case is, gangsters, whatever the case is. He was eating around them, talking with them. And then what did he say next? I showed you how. What did he say next? What did he say next? He said, so Christ had to break it down to them because they were confused, right? And this is the disciples not understanding why Christ came, right? He said, so Christ has had to break it down to them, and he said, why are you all thinking so hard about what I told you? I showed you how loaves of bread can be broken before you in thousands. How many did you all eat? So how is it that you misunderstand my words concerning food when I warn you of the Pharisees and the scribes? So he gave them a warning because he already knew that they were like snakes. So when somebody give you a warning, it's not because they hate you. No, it's so that you know, so that you can learn that what you're doing is not good. That's why I'm able to take criticism. But you got negative criticism and positive criticism. Negative criticism doesn't create nothing but negativity. Positive criticism creates positivity. So he warned his disciples about the Pharisees and the scribes because he knew that the Pharisees and the scribes already knew of the word. They didn't lack understanding. That's why they were able to exploit it. It's like having the laws, right? We have so many laws in the United States, and people are able to know what the paradox, or you could say I don't know that's the best word to use. Not a paradox, right? People know the paradox of the words of the laws, right? So they're able to use the law to their benefit. But just because the law says this, oh, the law says that, so I don't have to go and listen to the police and this, right? So are we going to listen to the law, or we're not going to listen to the law? So let your yea be yea, your nay be nay. And people said that the law was not made for people, for colored folks and all of this. The law was made for anybody that's considered a citizen. Yes, the injustice system might not pursue it that way because it's a narrative, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't. So when you don't know the law, right, you become a puppet of those that knows the law. So that's what happened to the Pharisees and the scribes. They knew the law, so they abused the law. They used it for their own claim. And obviously it's working, because you can see all of these buildings as it is. Not like they didn't just take, mud, dirt, concrete, and then just rebuilt over another city. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But let's continue though. Verse 12. And I've been already said this, or I believe I said it, in my previous video. I might not have said it directly like this, but I definitely said that. But let's continue. Verse 12, right? Baiting the hook with props and what? Like spies. Baiting the hook with props as spies. That's what the Pharisees were. They were spies. The scribes, they were spies. They fit in the narrative of looking a certain way, talking a certain way. Why else do you think that Christ is calling them the children of vipers and snakes? Why do you think that John called them the children of vipers and snakes? It's because they were spies. Because what do you think happened when Herod found out that there was a prophet out there that was, doing a lot of miraculous stuff? He was scared. Because why? His conscious mind was guilty. Because in his mind, he murdered John Baptist, right? And then he thought that John Baptist came back from the dead. He was scared. He was afraid. But the whole time he didn't know that it was Christ, that it was Yahusha in him, out Yahuwah, out Elohim, out Adonai. He did not know that. He didn't know it was the Messiah, the Messiah. He didn't know. He did not know. Because if he knew, he still would have been scared. So verse 12 says what? Finally, they understood to what he meant. It wasn't food alone, but the exchange for acceptance of false doctrines and information. So they wanted to talk to the disciples, right? Because they knew that if they talked to the disciples were going to tell them information about Christ. And not only that, they were going to turn the disciples against Christ, so that what? The fulfillment of our Father, his will, is to not be made. So the enemy doesn't use strangers. They use your people against you, your own people. Same color, same blood, whatever the case is, that is close to you, that you don't have your shield over, meaning you don't block them out. They use them against you. Like I said, modern, time. So the first one was inspiration. The second one is contradiction. And that's how I do some of my stuff. I'm gonna start doing some of my stuff now. And like I said, that I'm gonna start putting certain what is it called? Captions on here with demonstrations of illustrations as well for some of these words that are coming out of my mouth, because I want a lot of people to really understand this. Everything that's happening in this world is already happened before 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. And all of those times there has been a wash, a cycle, a destruction. And all of those wash and cycle and destruction, there was always some people that were left, right? That were able to repopulate the earth. And it's not through technology. It's because yes, it could be through technology, but it wasn't in the sense of our technology. It was the sense of the technology that came from above. And it's not normal technology. It's spiritual, but it's also metaphysical. It's also mental. It's also dimensional. There are different aspects to these, realities of things on how things operate. I want you guys to think about everything that I just told you. We know that there's a firmament, right? So if there's nothing that can come, if there's nothing that can escape outside the firmament, right, from above and below, right? Why is there so much of a speculation of aliens? But then they tell you Sheol, right, is beneath the earth. So if Sheol is beneath the earth, that means you're stepping on ground that hell is a dimension, but also a place that can be reached physically. Because how can the devils, right, the legions say that, have you come to torment me? To send me back into what? The pits. So yes, those devils, they do have access to be able to go from one place to the other, but they don't like it. It's not every last one of them that's down there. You think that you think that these dimensional places are always what we always fire, always no. If you made a deal with these devils, you will be going to hell. Or they will take you somewhere that's similar. Or if the angels have to bring you there, they will bring you as well. The keys were taken from them so that the people of righteousness, those that don't need to be going there, they can be held safe. Don't nobody really live in heaven for real, man. As far as people. If we're gonna be giving you bodies, that means we're in it. There are levels to heaven, right? There are the heavens, not heaven. The heavens. There are levels. Levels. So you can live in the lower realms of the heavens or the higher realms. But a lot of people normally don't live in the higher realms of the heavens. You have to be holding a really important title or something about you. The only way. The devils, they know the people to mess with and they know the people to not mess with. That's why when there's like a lot of things going on in this world, people might, devils might come at you spiritually and try to inflict you. But you know what will happen? It won't work. It just won't work. And every time they afflict you, they try to attack you, you become stronger than what they thought you were. So you start to look like a giant before them. And when you walk with Christ, you learn to build that type of body. You become more like a giant. So, like I said, as of the title, right? You know the terms and the conditions that you chose when you picked Christ. So how much is your soul worth? Are you able to sell your soul? Is that something that you want to be doing? Is your soul not meaningful? Doesn't mean nothing to you. Does your happiness not mean anything to you? We all fight a battle. But as of today, right, I'm going to end this video with that. I hope you guys understood. I hope it wasn't too long. And I pray for you guys' understanding, the betterment. And yeah, don't really got much to say for real. I mean, I do, but we're just gonna make it this short because it's been long enough. All right. I love you all. Thank you for joining me again. And a kiss from me to you always. All right. And if somebody didn't tell you that they love you, I love you. And if they say that they don't want, and tell your friends also. So, and if they say that they don't love you, they don't want my love, they don't want my kiss, tell them, listen here. All right? Tell them, listen here. Ain't nothing forced around here. But what we do around here, we say, I appreciate the love. I just can't do that Denzel face. I can't do it. I can probably, but not right now. It's just me looking at myself trying to do that is a bit insane. But let's not get too much into that. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, on another video.